All right, next up on the set of examples, we have the circumstantial thought process. And again, this is usually thought of as a spectrum or a sequence of steps or a sequence or a management question, right? So when you have a disease, you can think about it as, all right, the disease exists, but where does it exist in time? Okay, and you can think about it as time is one aspect. You can also think about it as time on this aspect, right? On this axis, right? So you would have to progress through. So if you were in a car and you were traveling at 0 miles per hour, you would have to go through 20 miles per hour to get to 40 miles per hour to get to 60, and then eventually get to 100 miles per hour. Sometimes you have questions like that as well, where you start off with A, B, C, D, and E, and these are logical progression in the multiple choice. But sometimes they'll give you, they want you to understand that, okay, based on where we are in time, this is the only right answer, right? It has to be D because of where we are. It has to be C because of where we are in time. For example, if you think about tamponade, and they very clearly give you Beck's triad, so JVD, muffled heart sounds, and the low blood pressure, the hypotension, right? The question they're really trying to ask you is, all right, what's the next best step in management based on where we are in time? They don't say that, but that's really what they're trying to say. Like, based on the information that we've given you, what do you want to do now? So if you haven't done an echo, you'd probably want to do an echo, right? Because the eventual solution will be the pericardiocentesis. But would you want to stick a needle in someone's heart? Would you want to do that action before you have information? Or would you prefer to have the information and then move on to the action? Right? That's really the question that they're trying to ask. The same thing with brief psychotic disorder, schizophreniform schizophrenia. I put this here to highlight the aspect of time and how time is so important in how these questions are asked. Same thing with depression and antibiotics, but on the opposite spectrum. So you have, first line treatments, second, like you have treatments that you would go through in a logical progression versus like an antibiotics where you would start off with a broad spectrum, right? And then based on cultures, we would narrow what it is that we're trying to do. So you would actually start off at the end, and then you would actually want to work back this way to see, okay, we know that it's E. coli, and we're just going to treat just for E. coli now. So that's how question writers can go after these things. And it's, again, I think it's useful to understand this in a visual representation, because most of us can know the answers, and we can just understand what's going on pathophysiologically, right? Which is what we do, but we also want to understand how it is the question writers understand the pathophysiology, and how they understand how these questions are being asked, and how they would like us to think about these questions, and how they would like us to think about how we can better help our patients.